What's good, streaming people? Tommy Tran, Brady Quinn from our Fort Lauderdale studios here at CBS Sports HQ. This is the SEC on CBS Super Preview. No.2 LSU at Mississippi State, and Joe Burrow, the second betting favorite to win the Heisman behind Tua Tagovailoa, tied with Jalen Hurts, and his head coach, Coach O, at Orgeron, talking about Joe Cool.
It's what we want. It's what we want. We want to be mentioned in one of the top teams in the country. I want our guys to get a Heisman, but inside our room, it's about fundamentals, about the task at hand and beat Mississippi State. But it does do something for your program. That's why you come to LSU. You want the expectations to be high, but you also want to meet those expectations. But that doesn't mean a hill of beans. And you go to Mississippi State and not play well. So we have a lot riding on the line. It's one game at a time, and Mississippi State's on our way.
Love Coach O. He used to have like the subtitles with the bouncing ball. They kind of figure out what he's saying there, but I love it, especially when he talked about Kyle Trask in Florida in the game before. This is where the quarterbacks go to die. Now, what do you think of the hype surrounding Joe Burrow right now? Is it warranted in your eyes?
It's real. I'm on the bandwagon. I've got him number one right now. If you had to pick one at this point in time this season, I think Joe Burrow should win it when you look at, one, what he's doing for LSU, putting them in a position to be one of the top two teams, in my opinion, right now in the country. Who else can say they've got two top 10 wins right now, beating Florida last week, beating Texas earlier this season in their house? He's played phenomenal. And I think when you look at the improvement, too, which we'll take a look at in a moment, it's phenomenal. What I love about Ed Orgeron is the fact that he's embracing this. Some coaches take that approach where, it's all about the team, and we don't want to have one guy maybe separate himself from everyone else. But look, Joe Burrow plays the most important position in all of football, and he's done that. He's played so well, he has separated himself from everyone else. Does he have help? Of course. Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Marshall, he's thrown to a lot of talented guys, but, still, he should receive consideration for the Heisman. He should receive the praise and the promotion from his school for the Heisman. I love that. I love the fact that, Ed Orgeron is embracing that. He understands, too, what comes with that. More attention on Joe Burrow, but also more attention on the team and how good this team is right now. So that's another refreshing thing to see from Coach O.
It has been eye-popping, his completion percentage, nearly 80%, and then again, doing it not against just any kind of competition, but the best defense in the SEC and the Florida Gators there. They were giving up less than 10 points per game and getting it done. On the other side, for Joe Moorhead, he doesn't have the comfort of having a Joe Burrow. He's going to go to true freshman Garrett Schrader. Going to get this start. Tommy Stevens benched here. Your thoughts? Yeah,
we saw this earlier this season, right? I mean, you just can't seem to settle on either one of these two quarterbacks. He's going back to Garrett Schrader. I mean, bottom line is we have not seen the offense that was really advertised when Joe Moorhead got this job there in Starkville. I mean, you go back to when he first became a head coach, 2012 in Fordham. He's been in the top 30 in the nation as far as offensive production, anywhere he was calling plays. And when, looking at what he did in Penn State, it's the large reason why he got the job at Mississippi State. But so far the quarterback play has been spotty. It's been inconsistent. I think the one thing they could hang their hat on has been the running back position. Colin Hill has played well up until last week when he only had 13 yards on the ground on 11 carries. And so credit Jeremy Pruitt and Tennessee for the job they did defensively shutting down the offense. But at the end of the day, Joe Moorhead has to figure out a way of improving the play of Tommy Stevens, which really was, kind of his pick, if you will, of a quarterback who transferred to Mississippi State from Penn State, where he was originally, and then obviously Garrett Schrader, who he's going to now. So tough spot for Joe Moorhead given the situation on offense.
Yeah, and for Schrader, he's played in 5 of the 6 games, but only started that 1 win at Kentucky.
Probably most notable for a scramble where he got hit and flew about 10 yards up in the air.
All right, let's welcome to the conversation now Gary Danielson, who will have the call there, SEC on CBS. And we'll get back to Joe Burrow here. Gary, how excited are you to watch this version of Joe Burrow, and how, of course, he's paired with Joe Brady? All right, we'll try to get Gary back on the horn here to talk about that. So I pivot again to you, just talking about the same thing, the sort of pairing with Joe Brady, the passing game coordinator, and what he's done for Joe Burrow.
Well, I think the biggest thing is he's brought in an offense that, Joe Burrow's been able to utilize. It fits his skill set. When you look at his ability to diagnose plays, Joe Burrow's a son of a head coach. And so he understands the game of football at a very, very high level. And you can see him operating within the system, almost, diagnosing what they're trying to do and exploiting their weaknesses like anyone should. So Joe Brady bringing a lot of the same things you see from the New Orleans Saints from his time there and his experience there to this passing game offense has made a world of difference when you look at what Joe Burrow was before in 2018 and what he is now in 2019. So you got to give a lot of credit to Joe Brady, what he's done and what he's brought and put on Joe Burrow's plate, and obviously Joe Burrow for executing it.
The start here for the Tigers is a big reason why they are now number 2 in the latest AP poll. In your eyes, are they worthy of the number 2 ranking right now, and what are the chances they are a real threat to Bama in the SEC West?
They're a real threat. I don't think Bama's faced this sort of LSU team where they have as much balance as they do on offense, where they can run the football extremely well, but also throw the football effectively. And when you look at their wide receivers, Tommy, I mean, Jefferson and Chase and Marshall, even though he won't play in this game, those guys are very formidable opponents and very comparable to what you see from Alabama's wide receiver group. So I know they're not household names to us quite as much as what we hear about Alabama and Tua Tagovailoa, but LSU is that next best version. Look at their point differential. They're top 5 in the country right now, and so they're doing a ton on offense, putting up production. Their defense has been okay. I think that's really the group that concerns me, in particular up front. Whether or not their defensive line is going to be able to get pressure on a team like Alabama. I think they'll be okay versus Mississippi State this week, but that's the side of the football that I'm a little bit more concerned with.
All right, I'm being told we've got Gary there on the phone. And Gary, again, we took a look at Joe Burrow. Again, how excited are you to see this version of him ever since he has now been paired with passing game coordinator Joe Brady?
Yeah. I mean, who's not? I mean, all of us that have played, I know Brady will, second this. You love to have a coach that brings concepts that will work. I think I might have said it even on your show a week ago. If Joe Burrow was at Ohio State playing for Jim Tressel, he would not be putting charts up like this. I mean, you get the right combination and you have a chance to show what your talent is, and obviously Joe's taken great advantage of it.
And it's a big reason why the Tigers are now ranked 2nd in the country behind Bama. And when you look at them right now, and you'll get a chance to see them this weekend, what do you think about them being a threat to Bama in the SEC West?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt. If you're going to play, and I think if you're going to have a chance to beat Alabama, you're going to have to pretty well be committed to scoring in the 30s. I think your defense does a great job if you can hold this. This is like playing against, a good shooting basketball team. Like if you're playing against the Golden State Warriors, you're not going to hold them in the 90s. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have to outscore them. And, LSU brings that to the table. They've got great skill players at wide receiver. Edwards-Helaire is doing a good job to be that offset running back that really keeps the defenses honest. They've got a veteran offensive line, and that defensively their secondary can make plays. And, that's what you have to do when you play against Bama. You have to get the 30s so you don't have a chance.
And on the other side, Gary, we look at Mississippi State. We know that they've had some issues with consistency at the quarterback position. But when you look at this Bulldogs team that's 3-3, preseason poll, they were ranked 5th in the West, and right now that's right where they're at, tied for 5th.
Well, yeah, nobody wants to be ranked 5th on one side of the conference. I mean, that's not what the goal was for Mississippi State. A struggling team right now. I'm not going to lie to you. They're missing tackles on defense. They're having trouble not getting beat really man on man in the offensive line, although that does happen occasionally too. But they're blowing assignments in pass protection. 7 sacks against Tennessee, and once you smell blood in the water, all of these coaches in the SEC are going to continue to bring extra players and zone blitz you and test how good your pass protections are. And it wasn't just the offensive line. A couple of times the quarterback held it too long. A couple of times the running backs blocked the wrong guy. The tight end got pushed back into the quarterback on a play. It's been every which way to get a sack. So they're a struggling football team right now, and Joe Moorhead again is fighting with an offense that he does not have a quarterback that can run his system. Tommy Stevens, through injuries or whatever, maybe just comfort of getting into this league, just was holding the ball a bit too long and not ready to play at the level he needed to play to lead a little bit more outmanned team that Mississippi State is playing against the big guys. And now with Garrett Schrader, he brought life as a backup. But, Brady, and I was listening to Brady, and you speak before I got on. Brady knows this. It's one thing coming in and putting some juice into a football team. It's another thing being the starter and taking the first snap and leading the team the whole game. This will be a real tough task for Garrett.
And it's a big reason why the LSU Tigers are favored by more than 2 touchdowns from Starkville. Our thanks there to Gary Danielson, again, who will have the call with Brad Nessler and Jamie Erdahl Saturday, the SEC on CBS. Time to welcome in Barton Simmons to the conversation. This time of the week, he brings in his players to watch. And let's start with the Mississippi DB, Cam Dantzler.
Yeah, Cam Dantzler, who I'm not sure how many people probably would recognize this in terms of the national kind of collective of college football fans, but this is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And when you're talking about this LSU offense, and Gary mentioned it, they're going to score points, and there's no question. It's just a matter of slowing this group down a little bit, and Cam Dantzler is going to be huge in the effort to slow these things down. He's got big-time ball skills, outstanding hands, the ability to turn you over. He did that against Tennessee in the end zone. I think if he gets an opportunity against Joe Burrow, who hadn't offered many of them, he has to find a way to turn this LSU offense over to give his Mississippi State offense an additional possession or two. And that's really the only chance this defense has, is getting a couple of turnovers, and Cam Dantzler is absolutely the guy to turn to because he's going to be tested. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, those guys are going to be downfield threats, and Cam Dantzler will absolutely have some opportunities if Joe Burrow gives him any sort of chance.
Let's stick with Hail State, and you targeted one player on the defensive side. How about one player on the offensive side?
Well, I mean, this one's a little bit obvious, but it's Kylan Hill. So much of what Mississippi State does is RPO focused, and so the last couple of weeks, Mississippi State has not been able to get things rolling offensively in the run game, and a lot of that is contingent on what's happening in the throw game. But I think as Kylan Hill goes, so goes this offense, and that's a big reason why this offense has really struggled the past couple of weeks. Is just Kylan Hill hasn't been able to really get moving. If he has some running lanes, if he has some opportunities, if he has enough touches to just get in rhythm, then he's one of the best running backs in the SEC. And so I think it's really important for Mississippi State to get Kylan Hill going, for him to kind of tenderize that LSU defense a little bit, which is one of the best defenses in the country in terms of stopping the run, 12th in the country in that regard. So it's going to be a challenge for Kylan Hill, but if he is one of the best running backs in the SEC, and I think he is, he really needs to step up and have a big game.
And to your point about that struggling offense for Hill, 4 straight 100-plus games to start the year, just 58 combined the last 2 games. All right, on the other side, for the second-ranked team of the country at LSU, who do you have your eyes on this weekend?
Well, you can go a lot of different places, but again, because this is a little bit of an RPO-focused offense that Mississippi State's trying to employ, I think it's really important that Jacoby Stevens has a big game for LSU. We hear about Derek Stingley, the true freshman quarterback, Christian Fulton, who's a potential first-rounder, Grant Delpit, who's a potential first-rounder, all these big-name guys in the secondary. Kind of the odd man out we don't talk about that much is Jacoby Stevens, but I think what he has a chance to do in this setting is big because he's a bit of that hybrid role. He can be the eraser. He can be a linebacker type of body in this defense. He can play a deep safety position. He can roll into the box late and account for that run game and help him out with the numbers in the box. So I just think because of sort of the Swiss Army knife approach that Jacoby Stevens plays in his position, I think that matches up really well with this offense. And I don't expect them to test down the field against those corners quite as much as they will the middle of the field. And that's where Jacoby Stevens is going to need to come up big and limit that Mississippi State offense.
All right, 3 players to watch from Barton Simmons. Catch him on Sportsline, 24/7, and the Cover 3 podcast. Barton, appreciate it as always.